Welcome to the Coexistence. I am Koe Creation, your second generation sex educator for the 21st century. I am coming at you from my quarantine abode, and I am going through a situation that I thought other people might be able to benefit from. So today we will be talking about polyamory in the time of coronavirus. This is being recorded at the beginning of June, and so happy Pride Month. Remember, still a riot. Still a riot. I am living in San Francisco, which means that I am going on month 4 of quarantine. I have, over the past month and a half, built myself a touch pod. And being a voraciously polyamorous creature that I am, I've been experiencing what it's like to live in a household of 6 people as its only polyamorous member and advocating for myself in building a network of touch pod people that is more than one person strong. I know, how dare I? What a radical. Love is essential. Touch is a baseline need for humans, and it turns out that I have a lot of experience with contact tracing. As we experience physical distancing, I am finding that love is still an essential service. Touch is also at the base level of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We need touch. And so I think it's valuable to use harm reduction techniques and contact tracing to help us aid ourselves for success in building these touch pods and, honestly, working for the betterment of the mental health of our general society right now. So what is contact tracing? In my negotiations with my household, I live with a member who is a doctor and came up with the most wonderful surmisement of all of the negotiating and conversations we've been having of late. They said, it looks like this is the cross-section between polyamory and epidemiology. Contact tracing is how we study and track how people are interacting such that you can trace the lines of contact. If you've been following my brand for any amount of time, does this sound oddly familiar? This is polycule making. Polycules I describe as a metaphor with which you can describe your relationship structure. They often involve a physical map of some variety showing you and your connections and their connections. I've been building polycules since I was a young teenager, and I didn't know until this week that what I was doing was contact tracing. Yes! I finally have skills for the revolution that I can use right now! So exciting! I am so excited that I get to use my polyamory skills and polycule making in support and fight of coronavirus. We all have our part to play. In this video today, I will be making a contact tracing map as a template so you have some idea of one that you might make for yourself. Are you ready to get into it? give you a chance to look at that. All right, now let me explain this little friend. This is me. I have used the colors of teal, dark blue, and orange. And for me, the teal is the general structure of my contact tracing pod. The dark blue are indicators of essential ethical functions, such as service work and attending protests. Then the orange are notable instances that still follow guidelines, but I wanted my housemates to know and my people to know about. So for me, that includes distanced hangouts, car rides, and known accidents. Sometimes it's really hard when you're in person to not bump into them or blow on their face or things like that. And that's one of the reasons that being really vigilant in person is super important. So I count those and I let my housemates know about them. We also have the fact that my housemate is an essential healthcare worker and we don't know how many people they're interacting with per day on the whole. So we put that in as a known. Some of the other things that I really like to indicate is how many humans we're talking about. So my main squeeze and family unit is +3, and then my metamors are +4, right? So really thinking it doesn't always matter in your pods who's connected to who and how until it starts to become germological, right? So you can interact within your pod in ways that you may not need to discuss with everybody, but when you're interacting outside of your pod, it helps give you a clearer indication about where boundaries and barriers could be. One of the last things I want to note about my chart is that I have very specific dates of contact. I didn't put absolutely all of them in there for this video, but I put in the dates of the protests so that we know when our major interactions happened. So this is one tool that I have for communicating and building your networks as you need to, or just keeping track of where you're going, who you're interacting with, and how, so your brain doesn't have to try and remember all of that information when it's really stressed out. The last piece I would like to share with you today is an example in trust building. This comes from a different of my housemates in my house. At the beginning of every month, my house has gotten together to discuss what our needs are and what our expectations and boundaries are for existing as a house of 6 people. During these conversations, each time the topic of my polyamorous nature or how to get people in the house's touch needs fulfilled whose partners do not live in the house, I have had a monogamous housemate who, first thing, speaks up and opens the discussion with support, saying, "I'm so grateful that the polyamorous and non-anchored people in the house are being so open and communicative about the details of what we're wanting to do and what our safety plans are around it. And that by doing that, that creates more trust and ability to say yes to our requests. Because this person understands the value and privilege that they have in having their anchored person so close to home and being able to get all of their touch needs met. Therefore, they've been able to show up with an incredible amount of compassion, kindness, and support for the hard work of the folks in my experience. These steps you can take in helping your isolated friend build themselves into your pod, or when you're interacting with people whom you know are in isolation, or whom you know who might be engaging a little more widely than you are comfortable with. Using these communicative tools along with a healthy dose of compassion in my life has led to my capacity to get my needs met, feel more grounded and centered in myself so that I can be able to show up for what's really needed of me right now. I do hope you found something of value in this video. I had a wonderful time making it. Once again, here is my contact tracing map for June 2020. Try it out. Make one for yourself. See if it's easy, difficult. Use your calendar to help you remember dates, and share it with me if you feel like it. I would be fascinated to see what your healthy contact tracing polycule looks like. As always, I am Koe Creation, koecreation.com. And here from the coexistence, I can't promise, but I will certainly try, and I believe that I will see you on the adventures that are yet to come.